Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Portrait associated with the legendary figure of Edward Mordrake, present in compilations and newspapers of the 19th century. The accounts circulated in the second half of the 19th century describing stories that are now treated as folklore. Do you believe he had two faces? This old image shows a group of people dressed in unusual outfits during a Halloween celebration in a small American town at the beginning of the 20th century. The handmade masks and the still gaze of the participants create a curious and mysterious atmosphere. In 1966, a group of children was photographed wearing costumes inspired by comic book characters during Halloween. Among them are outfits of Batman, Zorro, and other popular heroes that marked the culture of the era. Around 1910, this photograph was recorded in France and shows a curious visual trick created without any modern technology. The image was produced through creative photographic techniques, simulating an unusual illusion effect. Even without digital tools, artists of the time already explored photography to provoke wonder and imagination. A photograph from 1890 shows the Tocci brothers, conjoined twins born in Italy in 1877, in a studio pose. They appeared in exhibitions in Europe and in the United States, maintaining polite posture and conversation with visitors. Prince Randian, a performer born in 1871, is a historical reference for the 1932 film Freaks. His performances took place between the end of the 19th century and the early decades of the 20th century, including the Coney Island circuit. Records cite skills performed with precision using only his mouth. Around 1905, this image was recorded at a rural American school during an early Halloween celebration. A masked figure appears in the background, surrounded by handmade decorations and a large carved pumpkin. A man famous for great skin elasticity poses for a studio photograph. The record was made around 1900 when rare medical phenomena drew scientific and popular interest. Accounts point to a genetic condition that altered collagen and allowed the skin to stretch. Between the 1920s and 1930s, a group of women posed by the seaside at Venice Beach, California, during a Halloween celebration. They are next to a huge papier-mâché pumpkin with a large witch hat, a classic symbol of the date. During a family dinner, the Coopers experienced an indescribable nightmare. At the exact moment the photo was taken, a body fell from the ceiling, interrupting the moment with deadly silence. This old photograph shows a small group of people wearing masks made from pillowcases in a rural area of the United States at the beginning of the 20th century. The simple setting and the improvised costumes reflect the earliest Halloween celebrations in countryside communities. Around 1938, this photograph shows three masked people inside a car on the way to a Halloween celebration. The white clothing and painted faces reflect the handmade style of costumes of the time. The contrast between the darkness of the night and the enigmatic expressions creates a curious and unsettling atmosphere. Terry Ike Clanton took this photo at Boot Hill Cemetery in the American West in the 1990s. Near the left shoulder, the figure of a man in Old West clothing appears, even though no one was at the location at the time of the photograph. A mysterious photo from the 1930s shows the Brown Lady, the supposed ghost of Lady Dorothy Townsend, descending the stairs at Rainham Hall in England. This chilling image is one of the most famous associated with supernatural phenomena. Portrait of a British clown in an outfit with national colors and symbols, posing in a studio. The photograph dates from the 1870s, the height of Victorian culture, and enthusiasm for public performances. An ordinary photo of a child shows something strange. Behind the boy, there seems to be the figure of an astronaut. The father insisted that no one was nearby. The image became known as the Solway Firth Spaceman. A frightened child stands next to a figure dressed in a bear costume in an open, bright field. Recorded in the 1930s, the photograph evokes a disturbing contrast between the empty setting and the child's evident discomfort. A striking view of the Japanese island of Miyake-jima shows residents wearing gas masks because of intense volcanic activity. The toxic gas that emerges from the ground makes this equipment vital for safety, resulting in a scene that is both frightening and realistic. Around 1920, this image was captured in England by photographer William Hope, known for his photographs with mysterious effects. He used multiple exposure techniques to create the illusion of translucent figures, as if unseen presences were in the scene. In 1959, Mabel Chinnery photographed her husband in the car just after they visited her mother's grave. When the image was developed, they were surprised. The figure of the mother appeared in the back seat of the vehicle. Experts analyzed the photo and assured that there was no editing. In 1949, this group was photographed during the Halloween Ball at the Art Institute of Chicago in the United States. The handmade masks and long garments create a curious and puzzling look. Around 1910, this curious image was recorded by Kern Vintage Stock Bosch Corbis, portraying a skeleton seated at a table. With a hat and a formal posture, it appears focused on its studies, looking closely at a book in front of it. The photograph blends humor and symbolism. Around 1900, artists and photographers began experimenting with double exposure techniques to create unusual images. This photograph from the Corbis Historical Collection shows a man in a suit and tie, seated outdoors with a translucent appearance. A simple photo of a child playing hides something strange in the background, a humanoid figure crawling as if reacting to the child's presence. The image sparks speculation and questions about what might really be there. This photo shows soldiers around something that looks like a pterodactyl. Some believe it is an unknown species, while others think it was a manipulated photograph. In Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania, a camera was triggered by a deer and captured something unexplainable. A spectral figure with the features of someone in agony. The mystery only intensifies the location's eerie reputation. Around 1863, photographer Eugène Thibault recorded this image of the French magician Henri Robin in an unusual pose. The photo, likely made to promote a stage show, shows a translucent figure beside the performer. A fire destroyed a building in Wem, Shropshire, England in November 1995. An amateur photographer captured the image of a young woman at the entrance of the burning building. There are rumors that it is the spirit of Jane Churm, who died at the location. An old lighthouse with a female figure visible on the edge. No one knows who was photographed there. Some believe she is the spirit that haunts the place. During a birthday party, Joe Martinez was photographed with the image of a dog over his shoulder, although no dog was present. Joe and his wife believe it is the devil. Experts confirmed that the photo is authentic with no signs of editing. A woman was praying in church when she was photographed, without noticing the ghostly figure behind her. When they showed the image to the priest, they discovered it was the spirit of an old healer who haunted the place. The Teletubbies in black and white lose their childlike tone and take on a strange and scary look. the absence of color turns what would be a fun show into something grim, like a scene from a horror film. Beauty treatments in the 1930s and 1940s were bizarre. One example was the use of carbon dioxide to freeze freckles. Patients had their eyes covered, their nostrils blocked, and breathed through a tube, looking like a scene taken from a horror movie. A masked woman in a shadowy photo. With no leaves on the trees, the days are short and the nights are long. It may be part of a play or something even darker, enough to give you chills. What seems to be a picturesque country house in upstate New York is actually the Trudeau Sanatorium, specialized in tuberculosis treatment. The 1948 image captures a nurse dressed in white, walking through the grounds, adding a fearful and evocative mood to the setting. A doll sits alone on a small child's chair in front of a simple wooden house. Recorded around 1930, the image brings an unsettling mood because of the contrast between the bright setting and the toy's solitude. Two girls hold hands while wearing Halloween masks on the porch of an old house. Recorded around the 1930s, the photo carries a mysterious air because of the handmade masks and the contrast of the light with the dark background. Two farmers pose with simple homemade costumes in front of a wooden house in the year 1920. The loose outfits and the serious expressions give the scene a curious and mysterious tone. Can you figure out what they have in their hands? Around the 1930s, this image shows a person dressed in a handmade mummy costume during a Halloween celebration in the United States. The simple outfit, made with strips of fabric and white sheets, reflects the creativity of the celebrations of that time. Around 1925, 3 children were photographed wearing handmade costumes during a Halloween celebration. The long garments and simple masks reflect the style of the earliest traditions of this date in the United States. The scene captures the beginning of trick-or-treating, a practice that would become an essential part of modern Halloween. In 1915, a woman was photographed wearing an elf costume during a Halloween celebration in an American town. The handmade outfit features pointed details and shiny fabrics that recall creatures from European folklore. In 1949, revelers were photographed during a Halloween ball held at the Art Institute of Chicago in the United States. The detailed masks and face paint reflect the creativity and artistic spirit of that time. Around 1865, this photograph was recorded in London and is attributed to the London Stereoscopic Company. It is believed to have been part of a theatrical staging or a photographic experiment of the time. In the scene, a figure with a pumpkin head appears before a surprised woman, creating a curious and theatrical mood. Around 1910, this group of women was photographed wearing pointed hats and dark dresses at a Halloween celebration in the United States. These costumes, inspired by old European traditions, became icons of the date and remain popular to this day. Around 1910, this photograph shows a woman wearing a handmade mask and elegant clothing during a Halloween celebration. The outfit combines fashion elements of the time with touches of mystery and creativity. Recorded in Lexington, Oklahoma, this image shows a young woman and 5 boys in handmade Halloween outfits. Captured around 1890, it reveals the simple and creative style of costumes of that time. This unusual photograph shows a man wearing a handmade cat costume created with striking details and a realistic texture. Recorded in France around 1920, it reflects the creative spirit of the celebrations and the fascination with eccentric outfits. This photograph was captured by renowned photographer Dorothea Lange during a Halloween celebration at the Shafter Migrant Camp in California in 1930. These camps were created to shelter people from different regions of the United States seeking better living conditions. This photograph shows a student dressed as the character Little Bo Peep at a college celebration. Recorded at the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1915, the scene conveys the simplicity and charm typical of that time. Isaac W. Sprague, a performer known by the nickname Skeleton Man, appears in a promotional record. His career rose in the second half of the 19th century with appearances at fairs and large companies. Accounts of the time describe significant weight loss without a conclusive diagnosis. Portrait of performer Charles Sherwood Stratton, known as General Tom Thumb, in a theatrical pose. The lithograph was created in 1844 when he was 12 years old and already associated with P.T. Barnum's company. A crowd stands before an attraction booth in Coney Island, New York, with a presenter and a performer by the stage. The photo was taken in 1935, a period when the location was a major hub of leisure and visual novelties. Announcements about conjoined twins and other attractions were used to draw visitors. Lalu, born in India in 1874, appears in a promotional photograph for traveling shows. His path gained attention at the end of the 19th century with trips through several countries. He often addressed the public and respectfully explained his condition. A group of human curiosity performers gathered for a collective photograph. The record was made between the 1920s and 1930s, a period of an intense circuit of popular attractions. Men and women with uncommon characteristics built recognized careers in the circus world. A record of members of the Barnum and Bailey Champish Ringling Brothers Circus in a backstage moment. The image is from 1914 when the companies expanded street parades, musical numbers, and big tents. The shows combined multiple talents and complex logistics. Years later, the official union would consolidate the brand, the greatest show on earth. Portrait of Reverend Evans, known as the man with a hole in his chest, in a formal pose. The photograph is from 1900, a period when records of singular physical conditions circulated in fairs and publications. He also spoke to the public about faith and resilience. A studio image shows a young person with a rare alteration of bone and tissue growth. The record is from the 19th century, a time when traveling photographers documented unusual cases. These materials were seen both in study spaces and in public exhibitions. Bertha Hillier poses in a performance costume associated with acts with snakes at fairs and circuses. Her career gained prominence at the beginning of the 20th century, combining technique, control, and stage presence. The act sought a balance between elegance and skill. Pansy Chinery appears in a photograph alluding to the act of suspension by the teeth. The record was made around 1916 during the Edwardian era and the height of circuses of physical feats. The act required great body control and training. Portrait of a specialist in stage throwing, a member of an international circus troupe. The performances took place at the end of the 19th century with acts that required precision and trust among performers. The shows combined tension, visual spectacle, and theatrical rhythm. Portrait of a young athlete in a studio next to dumbbells with weight markings. The image was made at the end of the 19th century when displays of youthful strength were shown at fairs. The outfit and the setting follow the promotional photographic standards of that time. Portrait of Dudley Foster, a boy with height and weight greatly reduced for his age, in a studio setting. The photo is from the end of the 19th century, when rare cases generated medical and popular interest. Accounts mention clinical follow-up and appearances at fairs. Around 1905, a group of teenagers was photographed in a small American town during an ordinary daily moment. The simple clothes and the rustic setting reflect the way of life of the time, when portraits were taken with long exposures. The fixed stares and the absence of smiles create a quiet atmosphere, almost out of time. In the 1930s, a family was photographed wearing creative costumes during a Halloween celebration in a small American town. The central figure holds a handmade doll made with fabric and simple paint, while the others smile at the camera. Around the 1880s, this photograph shows a boy looking at a freshly carved jack-o'-lantern. The tradition of making these lanterns has its origin in rural Ireland, where turnips and potatoes were used before pumpkins became popular. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.